Morning, everyone. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. The shortest verse in the entire Bible is two words. Jesus wept. Two emotional and hard-hitting words. Why was he weeping? Well, he had just found out that his dear friend Lazarus had passed away. He was engulfed with human emotion, which translated into tears. He felt the pain of change. So why do I share this with you? Because today, I too weep. I too am engulfed with emotion that translates into tears. I feel the pain of change because today, after 6.5 glorious years as serving as your pastoral assistant, I am standing before you to offer my farewell. Change is a funny thing. Sometimes we fear it, other times we welcome it like an old friend. Look around. Our entire church went through an enormous change just 1 week ago, after officially moving into our new sanctuary. Some of us were a bit nervous. How are we going to leave our life and our love on Atlantic Boulevard? While on the other hand, there were others that were asking for months when we were going to move in. And here we are. Here we are. The joy this past week has brought so many of you has been glorious to witness. Father Nicholas has been so giddy, taking people around and showing them the reason and the purpose for every piece placed. Christmas really came early for St. John the Divine. This whole experience of great change has given me such hope. I'll admit, you guys are really hard to leave. The people I've met, the experiences we have shared will forever remain in my heart. In my own personal life, I was blessed to experience milestones of my own while I was here. In 2014, I got engaged to Nico. And in 2015, we were married, and Father was there, and we celebrated our first weekend as husband and wife attending a Goya volleyball tournament. Pretty fitting. In 2018, I announced to all of you on my 30th birthday that I was expecting. And then in 2019, we welcomed Nicholas and baptized him into the faith in this very church. These amazing moments in my life will always be tied to this church, to this community. I will proudly share with my son the community that he began his life in, the community that showed me love. Line. Though we were blessed to experience so much together, my greatest joy has been getting to know your children and your grandchildren. I call them my kids. They made me a mom before I even had Nicholas. And what kind of a mom would I be if I left without assigning each of you a task? Father Nick has always taught me the importance of challenging this community. I'll take him up on these words and offer some parting thoughts for each of you. Come home. If you've been absent from church, come home. Come back to us. We miss you. A new church awaits you to fill its pews. God is just as present here as he was on Atlantic Boulevard. Get involved in a new ministry. Plug yourself into the life of this church. If you have children, keep them engaged. You are so blessed to have an assistant priest, Father Sebastian Mott, leading the youth ministries. He and I were actually in school together, and I always admired his openness and his kind heart. Both he and Presbytera Nikki are wonderful examples of the faith for your children. Connect them and do it sooner rather than later. Also, take care of your clergy, especially Father Nick. Pray for them. Be so patient with them and support them in their vision for this church. During my time here, I learned so many things from you as a church family. I've reflected a great deal on them and will utilize them wherever God leads me in my life. Though I could speak for hours on these lessons, I've done my best to sum them up. First, you taught me how to jump into things full force. Excuse me. This church has such a wonderful reputation throughout not only our metropolis, but our entire archdiocese. I am still in awe at everything this church accomplished in the mere 6.5 years that I served here. In 2015, we welcomed back the Greek festival after decades of its absence. In 2016, we celebrated our centennial over a year-long celebration and broke the ground of this beautiful church. In 2019, we hosted the metropolis clergy laity and welcomed His Eminence Archbishop Elpidoforos for his first pastoral visit after his enthronement, while simultaneously building a new church. Then this year, we opened the first Greek Orthodox Early Learning Center in Northeast Florida and Southeast Georgia. We blessed the crosses that sit atop this church, and we opened the doors to this campus just 1 week ago. With each of these events, it wasn't 1 or 2 people running the show. Under the esteemed leadership of Father Nicholas, it was an army. It was a community who was all in. These events were always so planned and so well thought out, from major aspects to tiny details. I learned what it meant to host a historic event in the church. What an honor it was for me to be a part of all of that. Second, you taught me how to outstretch my arms. My first Sunday here, back in June of 2014, Father Nicholas introduced me to the community, making sure to share that I had the same degree that he did. Thank you. I remember feeling so nervous and so anxious, but by God's grace, those feelings soon changed. I'll never forget sweet Teddy Scarless, of blessed memory, who I knew growing up in Pittsburgh, took me by the hand during coffee hour and introduced me to all of her friends. Now, mind you, Teddy was best friends with everybody. The amount of warm embraces, smiles, and genuine questions of interests in my life was overwhelming. I moved into my house with a fridge already full of food, and with the parish council president of that time, Mr. Tom Gibson, and his family helping me unpack my moving pod. People I never met would invite me to lunch just to get to know me. I got cards for weeks welcoming me to the community. From the moment I arrived, I was home. I had my second family. I had new brothers and sisters, yayas and papus. All my life, I have never, ever met a more loving and welcoming community than I have at St. John. This kindness translates into ministries as well, as this parish has always had a focus on helping those in need. Whether through the various food or clothing drives, hurricane or COVID relief funds, serving dinners to the homeless or the sick, partnering with nonprofits across the city to assist them in their own needs, the Share the Light Committee, who supports those who are sick and homebound, or through the biannual Serve Day that brings the community together. Through all of this, you showed me the importance of outstretching your arms to not only people locally, but across the globe. Never, ever lose that. Finally, you taught me how to yearn for God. I began working here 1 week after I graduated from the seminary. While there, it was so easy to get lost in the academics and lose sight as the faith as whole. Sometimes it felt like I was just memorizing theology and the lives of the saints to pass a test, rather than truly live it. Coming here changed all of that for me. I felt like I'd found a place that I could live my faith through my work and through all of you. During my first liturgy, I sat in the very front pew on the right-hand side. I was so moved by how Father Nicholas celebrated the liturgy with such passion, to the point I remember getting goosebumps during the consecration. I heard choir music I'd never experienced before from the sweetest voices. As the years progressed, I enjoyed incredibly thoughtful discussions on our theology through our women's Bible study course, catechism, or even with our teenagers in Goya. The questions that arose, the points that were made, all of it brought me closer to God. I connected with Him here in more ways than I can count. The most important thing you taught me, though, is really a combination of the previous three. Jumping into things full force, J. Outstretching my arms, O. And yearning for God, Y. Church family, you taught me joy. You filled my being with joy. When Nico and I got engaged, we were sitting on my couch at 1631 Mayfair Road, the home I lived in for 6 years that resided on church property. It was the morning of the fall festival, and he presented me with a scrapbook. Inside its pages contain pictures of each of us from infancy all the way through our dating years. Then at the end were pages and pages of postcards. While we dated, I traveled a lot, and at every destination, I would send him a postcard telling him about my trip. This is the book that he proposed to me with. I found it a few months ago when we were packing before our mini move to Hodges, and as I flipped through, there was one postcard that stood out to me. I wrote this postcard to my boyfriend at the time, now husband, Nico, in 2013, in the month of December, when I came here to interview. I want to read it to you. Hi, my love. All I can say is, wow. I know God has a hand in my life, and I really feel like He's calling me here. The priest, the people have been so kind to me. I would love to work with them. The best way to describe this place? Pure joy. I hope you can see it sometime soon. Love, Alyssa. During that visit 7 years ago, I was only there for a short weekend, and in that small snippet, I felt joy. That joy has grown and grown throughout my years here. And for all that, and so much more, I want to say thank you. Thank you for embracing me as a young female graduate of the seminary who had no idea where she was going to go, and showing her that she had a place working in the church. Thank you for loving and embracing me and my family as your own. And thank you for being a true example of what a Christian community looks like. Jesus wept when Lazarus died. However, we know how that story ends. We know that Christ resurrected Lazarus and was reunited with him. So today, clearly, I too weep. But I carry the joy that each of you has filled me with, knowing that this will never be a goodbye. Instead, it will be, see you later.